Okay, we'll call to order the Board of Education meeting for the Pittsford Central School District. If you will please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. May I have a motion for approval of the agenda? Thank you, Sarah and Dave. All in favor? Motion carries. And first up, we would like to welcome our robotics team to do a presentation for us. Very exciting. We're always happy to have you.
Is this on? Good evening, members of the school board and our new superintendent. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak tonight. Our team proudly represents the Pittsford School District in competitions at regional, national, and international levels. Over the years, we have earned numerous awards and achievements, including 3 Spirit Awards, an Imagery Award, semi-finalist placements at 2 competitions, an event victory, and qualification for the World Championships 2 years ago. These accomplishments reflect not only our commitment to excellence, but also the strong support of our mentors, sponsors, and donors, whose guidance and generosity allow us to represent Pittsford with pride and distinction. Pittsford is more than in building robots. We inspire younger students to get involved in STEM through community outreach events, demonstrations, and mentorship opportunities. Beyond robotics, we are a close-knit community that encourages teamwork, leadership, and a shared passion for learning. The FLL Explore program at Thornell is a key part of our district's STEM and robotics pipeline, giving students their first exposure to critical thinking, teamwork, creativity, and engineering in an age-appropriate way. The program has run successfully for 3 years, but the parent who currently leads it is moving on, and a new advisor is needed for it to continue. While there is strong interest in expanding FLL Explore across elementary schools, growth is limited without teacher involvement. At Thornell, enrollment is capped at 30 students despite higher demand. The time commitment for teachers is modest, about 1.5 hours once a week for 12 weeks. Yet the impact is lasting, helping students progress from FLL Explore to FLL Challenge, to FTC, and ultimately in education. Our team includes 9 mentors, 2 of whom are paid, and we also have 2 alumni members who are a great addition to our team. Our mentors provide essential technical expertise, safety oversight, and valuable real-world experience, and we truly would not be able to function without their dedication. This program requires a significant number of hours, and mentor burnout is a real concern. To better support our students and ensure a safe, effective, and sustainable program, we are ideally looking to add at least 2 more paid mentors. Having additional paid mentors would allow for mentor rotation, giving mentors the ability to take breaks, maintain healthy balance, and stay energized, which ultimately leads to stronger mentorship and a more stable program for our students. Annual funding is essential to sustain all levels of our robotics program and to ensure equitable access for all students. Our expenses include, but are not limited to, registration fees, transportation and bus costs, training and mentorship support, the purchase and maintenance of robot parts and equipment, and travel expenses for away competitions. Support from the district covering the entrance and registration fees at all levels of competition would significantly reduce the financial burdens on families and help ensure that participation in our programs is based on interest and dedication rather than financial ability. Our program requires ongoing financial support for materials, competition fees, equipment maintenance, and coach support. In addition to financial resources, having access to warehouse-style practice space would greatly improve our ability to train and prepare, as it would provide the room needed for full field practice, safe robot testing, and proper storage of equipment and materials. This is especially important this season as this year's game requires significantly more space for proper practice, and the LGI at Sutherland High School is not large enough to safely or effectively meet those needs. A larger practice space would allow students to train in realistic conditions that mirror competition environments, improving both safety and performance. This season alone, the team will come together and spend approximately 280 hours meeting per person, building, programming, and preparing for competitions. This time commitment reflects the level of dedication required to run a competitive robotics team and is comparable to other recognized school teams. Pittsford Robotics respectfully requests to be recognized not just as a club, but as a program, as our students dedicate the same amount of time, if not more, as athletic teams and the theater department, operating year-round with a high level of commitment while representing the district at competitions and community events. Recognition as a program, team, or department, similar to the theater department, would accurately reflect the structure, intensity, and educational value of our program, while also ensuring long-term stability, equity with other programs, and continued opportunities for students across the district. We highly recommend watching the 2026 robotics season kickoff video. If you would like to reach out to us or view our social media, please scan the QR code. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Do we open up the questions to anyone at the board table? I just had a question. Where do you anticipate competitions being this year?
We are having a competition at RT and Albany. RT is Saturday, March 14th, if you guys would like to come.
That's great. Thank you so much. And just from watching this, your presentations and your team grow over the years, this is really an inspiring group. And I think the commitment that you all show, the amount of hours, everything from our students to your mentors, your volunteers, it's really inspiring. And it shows just how important this is to you and what a big part of your school career robotics has been. So I know the board has committed to the continued funding over the years that we've been able to put into place. And we're happy to work with you with different groups. I know you worked with PTSA with enrichment grants. We're happy to work with you on additional ways that we can look at funding in more creative and out-of-the-box ways. But I hope you all feel very proud of what you're doing, and thank you for sharing a little bit of your awards with us. We'll definitely share those with pride. So seeing what you're doing and sharing what you're learning and inspiring younger students is really what this is all about. So just thank you for everything that you're doing and for being here tonight.
Thank you for giving Pittsford Robotics your time.
Thank you. So we're going to continue with the meeting. The robotics team, you're more than welcome to stay for the whole meeting, or if you need to step out, we totally understand that too. We know you're busy and have a lot to do. So thank you very much for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Oh, it's a different one? Go.
All right, next on our agenda is principal's report from Mr. Puma at Sutherland High School.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having, I'm going to say this up front because I love talking about Sutherland High School. You will likely see Tyler Manchester jump out at me about halfway through the presentation to ensure that I stay on task and on time, because I can kind of wander a little bit. So thank you in advance to Tyler for doing that. But thank you very much for your continued support, both the board and central office team. Thank you for spending time with us last week. It's always a pleasure to have you in the building. I know the staff really enjoys your visits. I know it's a lot, so thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with us. I'm going to break down the presentation into basically three sections. School-wide discussions really is about things that we're doing at staff meetings, superintendent's conference days, those sorts of things that impact the entire building all the time. Department highlights is really specific to the disciplines within the building. And then student government, that's probably my favorite thing to talk about. And Tyler, I'm going to need your help on that. So the things that our students are doing, especially that students in our executive council. So in terms of school-wide discussions, so staff meeting discussions and that sort of thing, we're taking a look at our AI in education. I know both of these topics are happening. They're being discussed at central office, the district level, and MTSS as well. But what we did for AI, like all the buildings in the district, at Superintendent's Conference Day, we kicked off the school year with discussions about what AI looks like today for Pittsford schools, for us at Sutherland, and what we anticipate it looking like this year and in the coming years. I know that it's a very fast-growing field, and we wanted to make sure that everybody in the building is really comfortable with where students are and where they are as a staff. So what that looks like in our personal and our professional lives was the discussion at the start of the school year. We took a deeper dive a couple of months later at a staff meeting where we looked at specific examples of AI in our practice. We did some things right on the spot there, and a really nice thing happened by the end of that meeting is that we fleshed out a couple of the concerns that we had, but also there were a good number of staff members who were sharing some examples of how they use AI in their practice and how it really has helped save time and that sort of thing, while always being very cautious about the results you get when we're using AI. And that's ongoing discussion as recently as the most recent staff meeting. Nicole Berry, who was with us in the very first Superintendent's Conference Day, who was also on the front lines of the efforts at the district level, was with us again, came back and shared a little bit about what the Teacher Center is offering in support of teachers as they're doing this, and also gave some really practical examples of how to use AI in an effort to reinforce critical thinking in our students' efforts, among other things. MTSS is something that we talked about at a staff meeting a few months ago, and again, we know it's a district initiative, and the first thing we did was took an inventory of the different systems within the school that support students and what that looks like. And the list, I captured a lot of it here. The list is, it really just goes on. And what we're talking about is how these different groups or teams, groups of people, interventionists at the different tiers work in silos and how they can work together. And we identified what that looks like in terms of academic support, behavioral support, emotional support, those sorts of things, and how these teams can really complement one another. And specifically, this is when I talk about a school-wide discussion, we talk about a student's school day or all the students' school days and what their experience is like, and ensuring that they feel really comfortable, safe, respected when they come into the building so that they can do their best work. And that starts when they walk in the building, or they get off the buses, or they get on the buses even, and what those experiences are like, and how everyone from our front office staff to teachers, administrators, support staff have an impact on our students' school days. And that looks different from student to student. We recognize that. A lot of these teams on the screen will meet weekly to discuss about specific things for specific students or small groups of students, as well as larger groups and school-wide efforts. So our first steps are really to get these teams to communicate with each other a little bit more and make sure that every single building, every person in the building understands that they play a significant role in a student's experience. Those conversations will continue. Working with department leaders, we've talked about a bunch of different things. So each department has a slightly different take on what they're trying to do. One of the things we talked about was the curriculum work, especially unpacking new standards in science and world language and what that looks like, common assessments related to that curriculum and those sorts of things. There he is, coughing, dropping his keys. There, yeah. He's got my back at all times. Yeah, thank you, sir. And we are Yeah, we have a lot of fun. And what that looks like in specific departments, as well as the staff transition. So looking at our very veteran staff in some cases and what that looks like. We have several teacher leaders who are retiring this year. And departments are looking carefully at what that means, the implications for their departments and the work that they're doing and how they're going to move that effort forward on behalf of students. And then the last one is actually the one that brings out the educator geek in me more than anything. And that's how we get students engaged in classrooms and in instruction. There's a couple of examples here of students working in partners or in groups. Very often when you walk through the halls at Sutherland, I know this is common with most of our buildings, that you'll see students working in groups. I harken back to my experience even at Menon Center when I saw students at the little versions of these guys doing all that work together on the floor or in corners of the room, hallways, and that sort of thing. We're seeing more and more of that across the building. In this particular example, this was a fun one. You see it a couple of areas on a third floor. This is a Algebra 2 class, students who are actually solving equations and the teacher using the idea of a scavenger hunt. And so they have to figure out which station to go to next after they solve it, either individually or pairs or in teams. And then the last topic I'm going to bring up is student government. And I talk about, I say this a lot, and I really do mean it. I have a lot of responsibilities as the principal at Sutherland High School. One of my favorites, and probably my most important one, is to assist Chloe Kniff. So Chloe is the student who is second to the right here in this picture. This is our executive council. Chloe is truly in charge of our building, and I say that very humbly, but I'm trying to be realistic. I mean, she's even here. See, she's actually in the room right now. And so that's Chloe, and she and her team of the executive council really have set a phenomenal tone in our building this year. I mean, I've always been very proud of the climate and the sense of community that we have in the building. And this group of students really has set a tone that's second to none. It's really something very special. And you feel it in all the things they do, whether they have a direct hand in it. Our student council put together one heck of a homecoming. And again, this was like, I think about this, Chloe came to me over the summer and said, hey, we'd really like to move the winter dance back into homecoming and incorporate it into the homecoming festivities. And I had explained to her that in my years at Sutherland, we had seen kind of a step away from that. There wasn't really all that much interest in doing that in the fall. And she was really quick to tell me, no, we're going to do it. And it's going to be great. Students really want it. It's going to be phenomenal. And I said, yes, ma'am. It's what I've been doing all year. Okay, Chloe, whatever you say. She got a team of students together, and I think they broke attendance records. We had about 2/3 of the school at this dance, just having a great time. And true to form, the team used it as a fundraiser, and the funds from the dance are going to go to the whole school. They're still figuring that out as a team, which is really exciting. There's a lot of great work that's going on. There's a lot of fun at Sutherland High School as well. Student Council annually puts together a little competition for the Halloween costumes. I could have put many slides up here because these all crack me up. But on the left is one of my favorite Step Brothers scenes, the advertisement. I don't know where those two, the movie was out before they were born, but they knocked it out of the park. And then Lynn Smith, that's our world language team. He's retiring this year, the department leader. So Lynn's two passions are education and the Adirondacks. So each one of his team members chose one of those themes and dressed up like Lynn, and they all had the beard. The beard was a staple. Our senior class, I think we saw some of this during the tour, put together another fundraiser. This was a couple birds with one stone in that students were able to express themselves. We understand the value of students seeing themselves in their building. Students expressing themselves on the outside of the building, even as they approach, really does add to I would like to think adds to that sense of community that we have. And again, this was all student driven. They turned it into a fundraiser as well for the senior class. So the students came out and did that, raised those funds, and they were able to see themselves in the exterior of the building as well. And then we talked a little bit about this on the tour as well. Just the way that our students are just navigating their days together and creating this really wonderful climate inside of our building, so that embracing the cell phone, the electronics policy, and making sure that no one touches their puzzles in the cafeteria, and always working on those card games, just general conversation engagement that we see throughout the building. That permeates throughout the entire building, which is just wonderful. And again, I think it just goes back to Chloe, her team, the staff, everyone's dedication to making sure that everyone feels safe, valued, and in an effort to be able to do their best work in every day that they're at Sutherland. How did I do, Tyler? Am I okay? Yeah. I'm going to open up to questions if you like.
Any questions for Mark? Oh.
Mark, I just want to say thank you. Your consistency in leadership over the years at Sutherland was so beautifully portrayed here by just the increase in genuine student voice in not only making decisions, but in the actual everything we see in the school, from the parking lot, walking into the building. And there's always such joy when I come over to Sutherland, and I think your joy in what you do every day is really palpable, and even in the hard times, you're always looking for the good and coming back every day and giving your best. And I think that's really evident in everything that we've seen here, and your ability to just lead the instruction in the building, to bring mindsets more around authentic, engaging lessons for students really makes a difference, not just at Sutherland, but across the district. So just thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate you coming in. Next on the agenda, we have approval of the minutes from the December 9th, 2025 Board of Education meeting. May I have a motion? Thank you, Robin. Kim? All in favor? Motion carries. And next, we have approval of the minutes from the December 23rd, 2025 special meeting. May I have a motion to approve that, please? Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Emily. All in favor? Motion carries. Board of Education reports. I'll open it up for any Monroe County School Boards Association meeting reports.
Just want to say that the legislative breakfast invitation is out, so everyone should have received that at this point, and hopefully you can join us. We are expecting a great turnout again this year. I have about half of our representatives who have responded, and it's looking like it's going to be a really great event. It is at CCR this year on February 7th, and hope to see you there. And then also our legislative trip to Albany that we typically would take with Monroe County School Boards in March is on hold for this year. We've decided that because the legislative session calendar does not align with the NISCUS Winter Institute, is that what it's called? That we've decided to take a different path this year. We're going to take just a smaller group to Albany and really focus on 3 or 4 meetings there, and then we'll revisit the topic next year. So just those 2 things I wanted to mention. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Any others? No? Okay. Next, we'll have a report from our student board members. Nar. Great, thank you so much. Do we have any questions on the table? No? Okay, thank you very much. Next, I will give a brief update on the Audit Oversight Committee. We met on January 7th. We reviewed the single audit, which is a review of the district's federal aid. The district received an unqualified opinion with no findings, which was good. We also reviewed the extra classroom audit for student funds. We a few minor findings within that audit related to use of a Venmo account, which has been corrected, and the interested parties have been counseled on that. So we're corrective action plan is in place and in your packet. We discussed the budget development for the next school year, district planning team, and working together to close a roughly $1.5 million gap. And again, that's a very collaborative process and ongoing. The budget forecast will have less fund balance available at year end than in prior years due to restricted state aid and the tax levy. We also reviewed the current status of the capital project. Any questions regarding Audit Oversight Committee or the reports that are in the packet? No? Okay, thank you. And financial report. Oh, I'll go back.
Good evening. Once again, I've got a lot of items. Sorry, a bunch of boring stuff, but we got to get it all on the agenda. First up for your consideration is the acceptance of the Treasurer's Report for November 30th, 2025. Just wanted to point out a few things. Of course, we've got the unique situation with the school lunch program this year. That's up about 37% in participation. So if you isolated the elementary, which is part of the national program, it would be, that's a majority of it, right, of that increase. And we've received 97.65% of our levy to date, so that's good. We've got most of that collected to date.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the Treasurer's Report, November 30th, 2025? Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Robin. Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Motion carries.
Second up for your consideration is the approval of the single audit, which Jeff just mentioned that we reviewed on the 7th with an unqualified opinion.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the single audit report? Thank you, Emily. Second. Thank you, Kim. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.
Third up for your consideration is the approval of the extra classroom activity audit report and the corrective action plan. As Jeff just mentioned, the one item that we wanted to kind of mention was the use of the Venmo account, and that's been addressed, and a couple other minor findings on there. Sales tax, profit and loss statements, just kind of the usual stuff.
May I have a motion to approve the extra classroom activity audit report and corrective action plan? Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Robin. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.
Fourth up for your consideration is a resolution for a SECRA negative declaration for the 2026 capital improvement project, which has been reviewed and approved by our architects and our attorneys.
May I have a motion to approve resolution for SECRA negative declaration 2026 capital improvement project?
So moved.
Thank you, Sarah.
Second.
Thank you, Kim. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Motion carries.
One second. Fifth item up for your consideration tonight is a resolution for voter referendum resolution language for the 2026 capital improvement project that goes along with that secret that just got approved.
Okay, this one will require a roll call vote, so I will read each of your names in alphabetical order, and if you please vote yes or no out loud. Thank you. Yep, I'll get it. May I have a motion to approve the resolution for the voter referendum resolution language 2026 capital improvement project? Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Emily. Dave Burke?
Yay.
Kim Hewells?
Yay.
Emily Kay?
Yay.
Sarah Palucio?
Yay.
Robin Scott? Jeff Casey, yay. Motion carried.
No discussion? We're good?
Good.
I didn't know if there was any discussion.
Yep.
Sixth item up for your consideration tonight is approval of the $100,000 capital outlay project for the HVAC systems at Thornell Elementary.
May I have a motion to approve the $100,000 capital outlay project awarding the contract resolution? Thank you, Dave.
Second.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries.
Just one note on that, just alternates 1 and 2 for that are in the consent agenda under the bids.
Okay, thank you.
Number 7 for your consideration tonight is a second SECRA Type 2 negative declaration for the Energy Performance Contract Environmental Quality Review Act.
Thank you. This item will also require a roll call vote. Can I please have a motion to approve the Energy Performance Contract New York State Environmental Quality Review Act? Thank you, Kim.
Second.
Thank you, Dave. Dave Burke?
Yay.
Kim Hewells?
Yay.
Emily Kay?
Yay.
Sarah Palucio?
Yay.
Robin Scott?
Yay.
Jeff Casey, yay. Motion carried.
Number 8 for your consideration tonight is the resolution for the Energy Performance Contract authorizing lease purchase agreement for solar panels and LED lighting throughout the district for $12,646,325, not to exceed.
Thank you. This is our last item tonight that will require a roll call vote. May I have a motion to approve Energy Performance Contract authorizing resolution lease purchase agreement?
So moved.
Thank you, Sarah.
Second.
Thank you, Kim. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Dave Burke? Kim Hewells?
Yay.
Emily Kay?
Yay.
Sarah Palucio?
Yay.
Robin Scott?
Yay.
Jeff Casey, yay. Motion carried.
Number 9 for your consideration tonight is a resolution approving change orders for the current capital project that were less than $35,000 since the last meeting.
May I have a motion to approve the resolution approving capital construction project change orders?
Second.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Dave. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Motion carried.
Number 10 tonight for your consideration is the approval of the non-resident tuition rates resolution.
May I have a motion to approve the non-resident tuition rates resolution? Thank you, Emily.
Second.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Motion carries.
And last but not least, bid awards. Number 11 for your consideration is BOCES 2 cooperative electricity bid and the capital outlay project alternates 1 and 2 are on your consent agenda.
Thank you. Just a couple dates to remember that I wanted to point out where the schools will be closed on Martin Luther King Jr. Day on January 19th, and our next regularly scheduled board meeting is February 3rd. And our next item on the agenda is the Human Resources Report. Mr. Clark.
Thank you and good evening. First, for your consideration, we have the professional staff report. We have 2 changes in status from probationary to tenure, 1 certificated staff appointment as a regular sub, 1 SRP appointment, 5 SRP resignations for retirement, 1 regular sub position ending. We have 2 SRP resignations, and we have per diem substitute appointments.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the professional staff report? Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Robin. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you. Next for your consideration is the support staff report. We have 2 clerical appointments, 1 transportation appointment, 2 transportation resignations, 1 custodial resignation, 1 custodial maintenance resignation for retirement, 2 for food service appointments, and 1 food service resignation.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the support staff report? Thank you, Emily.
Second.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you. And next for your consideration is a proposal for a new position titled Food Service Field Supervisor. This position will help us as we transition to the free meals programs at the secondary level and will be cost neutral. The civil service job description and the justifications are in your board packet, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the new position Food Service Field Supervisor? Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Dave. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you. And finally, we have memorandums of agreement on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the curriculum report. Matt Katowski, enrollment projections.
That's on, okay. Good evening. I'm Matt Krakowski. I'm the Director of Technology, and here with me today, I've got Jamie Kogler from the data team. She is our data coordinator. I just want to before I start, say a quick thank you to her and Donna Hanson from the data team, because they were monumental in putting all this information together, putting the presentation together, and collecting all the data behind the scenes. In your board packet, you have quite extensive list or packet of information that you can look through that has a lot more detail. Today, I'm going to try to keep this high level. There's a lot of information here. I'm going to try to, again, just keep it high level, go through it, give you the information. Both Donna and Jamie, I know they'd be, and myself, anytime if you have any questions, I'd be happy to go through this information with you, really dive into the details. But tonight, like I said, keeping it high level. So as I was sitting out in the audience, I was listening. What is that picture up there? And I had that same. I was like, "What? I don't have any idea." When I first started that, but now I do. That is the Burgundy Basin Inn. This project last year started this presentation that Jeff did last year, and last year it was said that there was going to be a development there. This actually was shut down. They voted that project down. There's no development at the Burgundy Basin Inn. That was originally going to be slated for around roughly 169 apartments, various townhouses and all that. So that's not happening. They started it last year with this. Figured I'd start this year, saying that completely changed. That was a significant amount of development that could potentially happen. But there's nothing slated in this area right now. So just want to start off with that. Keeping the end in mind and really looking at what we're going to talk about tonight. Pittsford schools will remain relatively flat, with the potential for slight increase with enrollments over the next 10 years. However, as we look at that, we really do need to focus in on individual schools because new construction within various catchment areas will impact very specific schools within our areas. And we'll talk about the construction later on in the presentation. Also, to celebrate success with Jamie and the data team, the one-year enrollment projections have been fairly accurate, 99.5% over the last 10 years. And the last 10 years also, they're 5% projections. Again, 98% accuracy. Nice job. in terms of why we're using these, first is the budget development and the state aid predictions. We also, from an HR lens, we use it for staffing and sectioning. We look at catchment areas and we review housing and new trends that are coming along. In terms of transportation planning, making sure we have appropriate bus routes, where are our kids going. And then finally, for myself, as a technology director, do we have the necessary resources out in the schools, and what do we have to plan for year in, year out? And while this could be an easy process where you just roll the kids over from one year to the next, that's not the case. This is actually something that is done over time, looking at trend data. We also look at turnover rates, so from first to second, second to third, and so on. We look at census data. We also apply private school enrollment data, and we look at those trends. We look at kindergarten enrollment trends, both here in district as well as more in Monroe County. We look at Monroe County birth dates, as well as we work with the town of Pittsford to look at housing trend data, and we'll talk about that again later on. So when we look at this, we start off with the year-over-year comparison, and this year-over-year comparison is actually taking BEDS data. BEDS data is enrollment numbers that we turn into New York State in the early parts of October. So these are actual numbers from last year to where we are this year. So here, as we see, overall, relatively flat. It's 11, the change is 11 students. More of a change at the elementary and the middle school, and we'll kind of dive into those numbers. When we look at the 5 elementary schools, you see their biggest change with enrollment data is really from Thornell Road, where we had 28 new students come into that school. And when we look at the 4 secondary schools, the middle schools and the high schools, really the middle schools has the biggest amount of change. We call those bubbles. You'll see year in, year out. You're going to have some years that are big, some years a little bit smaller. I know the previous year there was a big class that came in, so a little bit down from last year. And then high school, relatively flat. And then we also look at the private schools and looking at, as a whole, where are all our Pittsburgh children going, right? So in total, in whole, we have 6,115 students enrolled, right? But within those, 552 are going to private school, 5,563 are actually here in Pittsford schools. And as we dive in deeper into, well, within the private schools within Pittsford, we have Allendale, Columbia, we have St. Louis, and we have Trinity. The current trend we see over the last 10 years is that the enrollment data for these schools continues to kind of decrease year in, year out. Last year we had a little bit of a blip at St. Louis. That's kind of come back down this year. And again, further looking across Monroe County, all the private schools as well as homeschool. We did call out homeschool because what we are seeing is that during 2020, we had more students starting to go homeschool. Those numbers now are starting to come back down to more pre-2020 pandemic timeframe. So we talked about current numbers. Now we're looking at past prediction and accuracy. So last year, Jeff Kimmer gave us a presentation in January, and that's what we're looking at here is based upon what we thought we were going to have, where did we actually come in terms of the BEDS data. Kindergarten was off the most, but overall, still pretty high from a one-year projection. And you'll see as we dive into the prediction by grade level, you'll see kindergarten is always the toughest one because this is based on internal census data. It's also county birth dates for the whole county. And it's also, you never know, you have the human element because is a parent sending their child that may not be ready for school, are they holding them back a little bit? Are they sending them to a private school or are they going to homeschool? So there's a little bit of the parent element, the human element that we have to focus in on that kindergarten, which is often why there's a little bit of a discrepancy there. But from there, from below, pretty stable. And again, when we look at this by school, the biggest change that we saw this year was at Allen Creek, Jefferson Road, and Mendon Center. And again, as I mentioned, this changes year over year. right? And then we kind of take a further step back to 5-year predictions. And again, fairly high. We're at a 98.94%. I like to round that up to 99. So pretty good. It's work of the data team's spot on. And then as we look at the 10-year, again, very similar, 96.65, 97%. It's pretty good. If you look in your board packet, as I mentioned earlier, in your board packet, they have the individual school and information that is all there. And like I said, happy to go through any of that information if you have questions. So we talked about past, right? And now let's look at the future and figure out where do we feel and where do we believe our kind of enrollments are going. So again, starting at the elementary, I'm going to call out Mendon Center here because Mendon Center it's pretty stable, right? From where we are now to where we are looking at in 5 years. I call that out because we know in Mendon Center catchment area, there are new homes that are being developed in that spot, right? There's potential for a lot of new homes. We've set that building up for success and for growth, but we have to continue to watch those. One of the things that is not highlighted in here is probably Thornell Road at the bottom. We're there at 516 now and 557 in 2030. So that is continuing to also increase. And I also think about the new homes that are being built. That's also one of the places that are going to be impacted by some of those new homes. Again, looking at the middle schools and the high schools. Again, calling out the middle school and the high school, Barker Road and Mendon High School. Naturally, those progressions from middle to high school, those both, we project both of those are going to be continued to increase. And those are things that I think we need to kind of continue to keep an eye on. The areas that are being built are going to be in these areas, so they have the potential to feed additional families in these schools, right? And then taking a step back and looking at what's past enrollment over the last 10 years to where's future enrollment for the next 10 years. Our overall enrollment trend, like I said, does increase a little bit and somewhat stabilizes. One of the things that we're not seeing in here is some of the home constructions, as a lot of the home construction permits aren't issued beyond this year. So some of those permits still have to be finalizing and go through the necessary procedures. So that also can impact what we're looking at too. And when we look back at the K through 12 enrollments year over year, one of the things that we want to call out is at that kindergarten level. We're looking at the preschool projections, which are actual numbers from the current 2025 year, and we're kind of bringing those forward. As we get to that 5-year mark in 2030, those are kids that just haven't been born yet, so we're projecting those out and trying to figure out what's that going to look like. And we bring that 352 across the board. And then that subsequently has impacts over the cascading years, as you'll see kind of going down the row. And more looks like a slide to me. As it's going down, Monroe County birth rates, really what this is showing over the last 10 years is that the trend data is looking at less births, smaller families within Monroe County. However, on the other side of it, the families within Pittsford, that trend is going up. So more and more families are the families that are being born, more of those are here in Pittsford, which is good, right? It's going to ultimately impact our overall enrollment. So looking at this slide here, these are actual enrollment numbers over the last 10 years, right? So, and that directly correlates to that previous slide where you see the trend going up. Our enrollment data is very similar, where you see that enrollment data for our kindergartners also going up, right? That trend looks like it's starting to stabilize a little bit around that 350, 360 mark, and we'll continue to keep an eye on that. When we look at this as a surrounding school district, really what we're looking at is relatively flat year over year over the last couple of years. With, I think, the most impactful one is Greece kind of losing some students earlier on. And then we break this down into the ethnicity and race. Looking over the last 10 years again, we're seeing that 76 identify as white, whereas now, today, it's closer to 69%. And this just breaks it down into the total amount of actual students. And as we look further into ethnicity and race, we're looking at the Asian Pacific Islanders and multiracial are the two groups that have continued to increase and within our school district. And going way back, now 20 years, so just graduating at that point. Here we go from 90% white to around 69%. And then where do we kind of fall in line with everyone else in Monroe County? Kind of the upper middle area. Essentially, we're becoming more diverse as a school district here. So getting into the new home construction, as I talked about earlier. We work with the town of Pittsford, and there's a number of phone calls, countless hours looking at this stuff. The map that you see here, the very tiny map that's off to your right-hand side, is as of November 1st. The pink area represents the new areas for development. And this map has been certified by their town. And as we dive into that, really looking at more of the traditional neighborhoods that we're looking at here, we've got 4 of them that we're going to call out and we're going to look at. The one that's not on here is, give me a second, I get the name, the Pittsford Oaks Apartments. Pittsford Oak, the Barn Bazaar, that's the area that's up on Clover. That's more of a 1-bedroom apartments with only a few 2 and 3 bedrooms, but not your traditional, family places. But here with these four areas, when we look at this slide is a little overwhelming. So to kind of stop for a second and really take a dive into this, if you look at the left-hand side, the subdivision name, those are the streets that we showed you that we called out on the last slide. The light purple, blue, I don't know, light purple-ish color, that's the Menon Center catchment area. Then it goes to the dark purple Thornell Road. And then the yellowish area is more of the Jefferson Road. That grayish blue column to your right is the total potential new families in those areas. Right, so some of those areas, if you drive around Pittsford, you're going to see that some of these developments have already started to be built. There's families that are living there. We've already taken those enrollments into consideration, and they're in our enrollment projections. So really what we're focused in now is the total potential new families that we're looking at. So if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of that, there's roughly 260 potential new families within these homes. So in summary, as I talked about, each year you have blips, right, in K through 5. This shows us the last 10 years, K through 5, and how each of those years kind of go up and down. A little bit of a roller coaster here. And the same thing happens with grade 6, 7, 8, up and down, and again, 9 through 12, year over year. And what this all equates to is when we look at this and we take a step back, 1, overall, Monroe County live birth rates are decreasing, while PCSD kindergarten rates seem to be increasing, which is good. Our student population continues to become more diverse, which is great. Potential new development affects Menon Center, as we talked about, Thornell Road, we talked about a little bit, Barker Road Middle School, Pittsford Menon High School. We know that those areas are going to be being developed, and we'll have to take a closer look at those schools and see, can it sustain that growth? And that's it.
Thank you, Matt, Jamie, entire data team. I know there's a ton of work that goes into this, and the accuracy year after year is really, really impressive and really important to the district. So thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Matt, in the last slide you showed for Jeff Road, there was like 50 units being developed.
That's the Barn Bazaar.
Right. Oh, those are the single
Pittsford Oaks.
family or the single
Family,
units. You don't
yeah.
anticipate kids.
Yeah.
Hence
I
not
mean,
a lot of
there
growth.
is potential. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but it was a dozen or two 2-bedroom and a few 3-bedrooms, so not a lot. Most of them were single family. out of all of them.
yeah.
Just thinking about where the growth is, I know Mendon Center was redistricted in 2019, and then Barker and Mendon are both, having the construction project. How is Thornell situated to take on those extra families potentially?
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that we're going to have to take a close look at. The development within Thornell Road is not as big as the one where Mendon Center is, as you saw on that one
Yeah.
slide. So in terms of, how many families come in there, that is something that I think we're going to have to spend more time in looking at and kind of diving into that data.
Okay. The other thing is, I couldn't find in my packet the extra data. Would we just be able to get that afterwards? Thank you, that'd be great. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you so much, Matt. Just as this was presented at Central Office Team, those were really the conversations that we were having is where can we leverage some of those new build areas where we don't have permits yet, families aren't living there yet. Do we want to look at our attendance boundary lines and make any alterations before families come to provide some of that relief for the Barker-Mendon part of the district? We know that Mendon Center should be able to take on some of those new families, but we're trying to avoid the big gaps between the two sides of the district. So that'll be really some decision-making that we'll have to look at over the next year or so.
Anything else? No. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Special education report?
Good evening. The Committee on Special Education and Preschool Special Education recommendations are on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Superintendent's report.
Thank you. Good evening. So I think Jeff did a great job just with the high-level overview of some of the conversations at our Audit Oversight Committee and some of the conversations we're having around closing some of the gap we have coming up. And of course, we'll be talking more specifically about numbers and decisions that have been made coming into our budget workshop starting next month. But those are things we're really working closely and collaboratively with our collective bargaining unit leaders and teacher leaders, representatives across the board to try and make sure that where we're making any adjustments, we can try to prevent job loss and impact on student program to the extent possible, and that we're communicating in a way that values the work that all of our staff are doing. So definitely some hard conversations will be upcoming, and we'll be filling you in as we kind of work through that process. Bernard did a great job, and so did Mr. Puma, in just sharing some of the great things that have been happening since our last board meeting, and really even with a 2-week break in there. And we were just here a month ago. There's been so many amazing things starting and continuing, from athletics starting for our winter season and amazing turnout at Rainbow Classic. And over $35,000 raised for Golisano Children's Hospital, and we're looking to even increase that with the next Rainbow Classic Junior coming up, so we'll see a little increase there. So as we get into additional concert seasons and theater seasons, it's exciting to see all the engagement and work of our students and staff at this time of year. And just wanted to highlight, I know we sent pictures of the solar panels that went up at Mendon Center. That went so fast and furious, and it's so exciting to see all of that, all that work happening. I think we all thought we were just going to get started, and to see all the solar panels up there, for anyone who's driving by, you can't really see them because they're on the back side of the building, but it's such a huge step forward with our sustainability work and all the work that committee has done. So in addition to some of the composting work that's starting to happen in the kitchen side, so the adult side of our cafeterias, it's just exciting to see that work moving forward, especially with the universal free meals and all the additional work that's had to happen for our food service staff. And just a couple other items. I know we talked at our last board meeting about strategic planning and what that might look like moving forward. So just want to keep the board updated on what those plans look like. This month, actually within the next week, we will have those surveys going out that were made with collaboration with a lot of our staff that was here today, including Jamie and the data team. A lot of work with Heather and Sean, and making sure we're getting data from all of our different departments. And those surveys are now complete, and those will be going out to students, staff, and families over the next week. We'll be shooting a little promotional video, trying to get as much engagement as we can. So really the message is that we're going to be creating a strategic plan that will help guide the district from now until the next 5 years plus. So as much community voice and experiences as we can get, the better. We really feel that that voice should help lead our path forward. So we're hoping we get a great turnout for the surveys. And then our next job will be looking at focus groups. So the consultants that we're working with through ILO will be coming into town and working with several focus groups. We're going to have a variety of in-person, virtual, during the day, in the evening opportunities so that we can get everyone from our students, our PTSA representatives, parents and families and caregivers who are not part of PTSA, making sure we have representation from special education, from all of our different collective bargaining units. So we'll be kind of layering those over the next 2 months or so. And then we'll be working on a steering committee, which will really be our district planning team plus. So we want to make sure we get student voice in there and make sure we fill in any gaps with representation. But we'll be looking at that final needs assessment. So all the information, the qualitative, the quantitative, the focus groups, the survey data, and trying to determine what recommendations would be. And then at that point, we really just want to be transparent with our community, share out what we found, share what we think our next steps will be, and get more feedback from the community before we take that into our summer leadership work. So that's really the place where we feel like we'll take all that information, start developing the strategic plan, and then be able to really, hopefully, get that wrapped up this summer, and then start a rollout and communication in the fall. So that's our kind of aggressive timeline. But we'll really see these things starting to start moving quickly over the next week and then in the months to come with our focus group. So we're excited to share what we find. A couple other things coming up. The Power Hour, January 27th, is our capital project forum for our 2026 project, which the vote is on March 5th. So any community members who are able to be there, ask questions about the capital project for the 2026 project. And we're just excited to be able to get out and see what the community has in terms of questions and comments. And then finally, we are working on calendar planning for 26-27 school year. So we have the approved county calendar. We're working collaboratively with our different unit heads, with our central office team. Really, our goal is next year to make sure that we are being mindful of emergency days. So whether it's heat or wind or cold or snow, that we have some days built in to be able to support that. It's a little bit tighter of a calendar. But we really are focused on having our district calendar reflect the diversity of our community, which we've seen from Matt's presentation is changing. So we want to make sure that our calendar is continuing to reflect that change. So excited to get a draft to you all, hopefully in the coming month. And that concludes my report.
And will we need an executive session tonight?
There is a need for an executive session tonight to discuss the employment of a particular person.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. May I have a motion to approve an executive session? Thank you, Dave. Robin? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.
Could I add one more thing, Mr. Casey? Sorry. I also just want to thank the Volmers for the donation to the Visual Arts Scholarship for Sutherland High School in the amount of $1,500, and that is on the consent agenda as well.
Thank you. With that, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Thank you, Emily.
Second.
Sarah? All in favor? Motion carries. Is there any old business? Any new business? Okay, with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Robin. All in favor? All right, have a good night. Thank you, everyone.